tirelessly for your members, right? They have problems, you try and fix them. You got problems with contractors, you try and fix them. And lots of times then you don't take care of yourselves. And we had a pre-call a couple of weeks ago, and I'm gonna steal a line from Dave Berger. He said, it's like when you're on the airplane, getting the instruction from the flight attendants. And they say when the oxygen masks drop down, put your ozone first before you help others. And so that's what we're gonna try and talk about today, is how focus on leadership and making sure you can take care of yourselves so you can keep continuing to serve your members to the best of your ability.
Well, the reason I'm here is I'm kind of a believer that a lot of the time, not always, but mental health issues and addiction go hand in hand. I'm a recovering alcoholic myself. I've been sober for almost 20 months, I guess. In the case of IBW Local 48, we've had, since COVID started, 18 members commit suicide, plus family members of members. So most recently, it was September 7th, I got a phone call, it was a Sunday. One of our retired members, who I worked with out in the field for years, called me up and he was crying, and he said that the night before, his 22-year-old grandson, who was actually an apprentice of ours, shot and killed his mom, his 10-year-old sister, and then himself. What do you tell somebody when they tell you something like that? And then what does it actually do to you when you hear something like that? So that's why I'm here today, is to try to raise awareness. And if you're struggling yourself, I think it's fair and reasonable to reach out to somebody. If I felt that I was having a heart attack, I would certainly get to the hospital. Mental health is no different. It's actually just as dangerous. So if you are having a problem, if you're struggling with anything, reach out to somebody. But reach out to another union member, to a family member, to somebody, and let them know that you're struggling. Somebody will help you. And then at the same time, we try to recognize issues with our members so that we can help them. It's not always easy to do, and sometimes it's too late. But if you see somebody that you think is struggling, I wouldn't be bashful about asking the question. You might be saving their life.
Just out of respect, I want to stand up just real quick to thank Garth for his hospitality that we had not too long ago in May. Haley, Karina for all the work that they do, and then Andrew for all your support, Sprinkler Filter 669, and then obviously with leadership and the ability to actually have a recovery night. Thank you, David, and thank you, Robert, for that. And then I hate to say it, it's almost most importantly for me, I want to thank Garth with the Labor's business manager, 737, because in October, Zach, excuse me, and that's where I need some help. I apologize. Thank you so much, Garth. I have brain cancer, and it affects my memory at times, and so Zach has really been a champion for me. October of last year, as I'm fighting brain cancer, he said, Mark, I had 3 members commit suicide. Let's make a difference. And we wouldn't have had recovery night without you. I've asked him, hey, it's September, obviously is Suicide Awareness Month. How has this month been for you? Zach, 0. And hopefully this year has been good. I'm hoping for October is going to be good, and for the holiday season. So thank you so much, Zach. I love you too. Thank you, brother. My quick story is I have glioblastoma GBM. I was going to be speaking at an event in Boston last year in April. It just didn't work out because I made a phone call. You know, we have stigma. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't want to have to place that phone call. I called somebody, I'm having challenges. And even today speaking, you know, what is it going to be? Dang, I'm not going to forget, I missed the name. But just do your best, keep on trying. And the person says, go to the emergency room. If I didn't do that, I was in a different place. It would be months before I even decided to go and take care of my health. And it was a lot mental, like you're saying, raise it and look at it. I wouldn't be here. I'm still fighting, and one of the gentlemen that has been an inspiration for me, I had been working with him in creating recovery nights. And so I got glioblastoma GBM, right? And this is the gentleman right here. It is Darren Waller. Darren Waller has been amazing. He has a story. He keeps me going. And I was telling Garth, I know it because I've been working with him. I took him to UCLA football with my background. Man, he said, why am I retired? I'm talking and telling my story. He's not retired, giving me the chills. He's been hurt getting in. This weekend is going to be his first game playing. And so I want to thank you. That's my background, my story, and that's my inspiration to be in here to try to make a difference with a couple of lives. I've seen it happen. It's helping me, so thank you.
My name is Colleen, and I have been with Lions for Life about 11, 12 years. Oh, here we go. How's this? That's good, because I can't talk as much as these guys. Oh, might be cutting in and out. My name is Colleen. I've been with Lions for Life for 11 or 12 years now. I'm currently the strategy officer, but most of my time has been spent in the clinical space doing direct crisis intervention or supervising the people who do or training the people who do. And so the reasons that I got into this work, I think are very different than the reasons I stay in this work. When I first started, I just needed clinical experience. I wanted to talk to people. Throughout my time doing this work, I've been personally touched by suicide. Both of my brothers died by suicide and substance use related issues. And the reason that I do these types of events is because, first of all, my brother was a cabinet maker. So I don't know if there are any fellow kin in this room, but he told people what he was thinking about, and they didn't know how to help him. And he ended up dying by suicide. So I often think if he had just told somebody who had a little bit of awareness, a little bit of training, some kind of insight into what to do when someone shares that, the outcome could have been very different. I've talked to literally thousands of people over the phone, and I know that those outcomes can be really, really positive for people if you just get them in front of the right people to talk it through. So this kind of space is really near and dear to me because I think this is one of those areas where we don't typically think about how to engage with people when they're really struggling. It's a lot of like, I'm a tough guy. I don't know if that resonates, but and we need people who are able to hold space and be a little soft at times. And so I really appreciate being here, talking with you all, and hope to share some information that's helpful to you or the people in your lives.
Hi, my name is Max Marvolis. I'm the project director with Lions for Life, but I oversee the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership. And in my life, it is the reason I do this work is actually kind of selfish. I am the least handy person, probably the last person that you want to have on a construction site. But I've always just respected and admired the work that goes into the trades, into doing construction. And I don't think the public at large understands the sacrifices that are involved in working within the industry. So I always think of it as a privilege that we get to go out onto construction sites, do teams, do stretch and flex talks, and to share this information because this industry has the second highest rate of suicide among all industries. It's a really important topic. It's one that we want to destigmatize because it comes with the work. One of the things that we really emphasize, and I know that construction emphasizes, is that safety is super important. Operating safely is very important. And we know that we lose 5 times as many construction workers to suicide than we do injuries and accidents. So how can we adopt that safety perspective, destigmatize mental health, and make these conversations easier to have publicized resources and give people some basic training around, hey, if someone's struggling, this is where you can go. These are some resources, and what we aim to do is make that easier for people. So I really appreciate the time and look forward to participating in the discussion today. So thank you for having me.
I think I'm going to go back to Colleen and have her do just kind of a general overview of Lines for Life and the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership and the other programs that are under Lines for Life and how they work. So I think that's a good place to kick it off.
Yeah, definitely. So Lines for Life has been around for a few decades at this point. We started as the Oregon Partnership, which is a collaboration of 3 organizations located mostly in the Portland area. Since then, we've really expanded our reach. We have 3 main areas of focus. We do a lot of advocacy work, so actually changing things systemically, making sure that there are systems and processes in place, laws enacted that help to protect people. We do our crisis line services, which is the bulk of what we do. Most of our staff work either on the lines answering calls, texts, or chats. We have 35 roughly crisis hotlines that feed into those staff members. That's 24/7 service. And then we have our prevention programming, and I'll let Max talk specifically about the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership, but the prevention programming that's out in the community is really skills training. We put on conferences where we get people together to try to move initiatives forward. Things like that. So I'll pass it to Max for the construction specific work.
Yeah, so the CSPP started in 2019 when the CDC released the report highlighting the fact that construction has the 2nd highest rate of suicide. So some partners within the construction industry and Lines for Life got together and they formed a task force, and they wanted to do something to raise awareness and create some resources. And the construction leaders and Lines for Life worked together to create the CSPP, some of the branding and different materials that we have. So that's like what started, and then we've started doing trainings regularly. We have materials, toolbox talks, hard hat stickers. We do monthly question, persuade, refer training, which is a way for people to learn quickly how to ask somebody if they're thinking about suicide, persuade them to get help, and refer them to services. So that is like where I kind of came on in 2021 to help take that vision. And we have 3 audiences that we primarily work with. We do a lot of work with owners. We do a lot of work with safety professionals who ask us to come in and do talks. But we need to improve and do more work with the trades, with unions themselves, so they can use our resources. And that's what we try to tailor. And like, if you have questions, we have a website, or you need outreach presentations, we really try to be a plug and play, a resource for you. I know that construction time is money, so we want to be really effective with your time, give you resources that meet the need that you have. And that's like what's been really cool with the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership, is it's taking a lot of awareness raising resources and making them tailored for construction to work faster and reflect the needs that are in the industry. So that's a little background on the CSPP.
And so, Garth, you want to expand a little bit more about, well, I guess the first place I'd like to start is, I was so appreciative of Garth and thankful for him having the courage to stand up in his hall a couple of months ago and tell his story. I mean, everybody has to get elected every 3 years, right? And to share that and to help normalize the conversation is super important, and so I'm very thankful for that. But Garth, you want to dive a little deeper into some of the things that roadblocks that you've hit, things that you've tried to overcome?
No. Roadblocks. I'm my own biggest roadblock, I'd have to say. My head gets in my own way, second guessing every single thing that I do. That's a roadblock. But that's part of the reason I'm going to counseling right now myself is to figure this out and to move past it, hopefully. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I do believe that any of us as a leader in an organization, if we're going to ask our members to do something, we need to be willing to do it ourselves. That's why I told our membership about my own personal struggles and problems. In the hopes that if any of them are having problems, they will reach out to someone. Again, I don't know if that really clarifies what you were asking.
No, that helps. Scott?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question maybe the panel, somebody knows this. Why is construction number 2 in suicide? What makes this happen? Where are we at? Why is this?
So one of my favorite things, the nature of the work, and one of the things that we do when we do a toolbox talk, I like to ask is how many of you were there at 6 in the morning, how many of you have driven over an hour just to be here right now? And then to see the hands that go up is one reason. So you have seasonal work, you have long travel, you have physically demanding work that if your body breaks down, then you're not making money. People are away from their families. A lot of times they have to go where the work is. So they are away for a week and then they come back and their family is carried on without them. The other big factor that we have to talk about is alcohol use. In the state of Oregon, nearly 25% of all suicides involve alcohol intoxication. The construction industry has very high rates of excessive drinking and binge drinking. That is another contributing factor. So there's the nature of the work is one of the biggest reasons. And there's just a lot that goes into construction, and there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into that, and that increases the risk. So that is the underlying reason.
Yeah, to add and to provide a little more perspective, but first, where Garth is at, he's able to break down the stigma, to talk, where the industry has changed. Robert having this mental health awareness night and all the leadership, David, where this didn't happen in the past. It had been like this in the past, but just haven't had these conversations. You haven't had a business manager. Obviously, I'm not a voter, but man, somebody who's willing to take that, man, what a leader. I vote for his ass all the fucking time. He's doing a really history. I started in 2001, and I had seen it growing into the healthcare side of thing, is that we need to connect the dots. You had mentioned the dots. As an industry for a while, it's been almost 25 years, each of the particular challenges that we've had it in a vertical, and we've just kept it in that vertical. Mental health. Suicide, substance abuse, drug addiction, or just more alcohol, this is it. And then people are in pain. You have people traveling and things like that, but in this industry where it goes, okay, we need to start having these events and start talking about recovery and connecting the dots, because you all, I've seen it, because you've worked in the field, you guys are suffering from pain. You guys have worked, and the gals in the industry, there's pain associated with it, and it affects mental health. Well, tie those two together, get on opioids. Man, I've had so many conversations about opioids with various representatives from the trades. They've seen it go into suicide. And then you have various substance abuse to connect the dots. So it's just having the conversation, trying to tackle and create these conversations to make a difference. And that's one of the reasons why in the union construction industry we have challenges, is because of the dynamics of that hard work and the various other dynamics that we have in the trade as well. Sorry.
No.
And an earlier speaker referred to this, but we've had really good work for a couple of decades, right? And the COVID downturn, I think all of you know, any recession before, construction was the first one in, the hardest one hit, the longest one in, and the last one out. And recessions are cyclical, and I'm certainly not looking for another one, but there's one coming down the pike at some point in time, right? And I think the tariff ban is going to hasten the outcome of that. And that's going to provide it's going to present a whole nother set of challenges for you leaders to deal with your membership, right? There's nothing that sucks more than being out of work. Now, I was working with the tools in the 80s. You couldn't buy a job for 3 years. So we're going to have to be prepared
to handle or to deal with a membership that's going to be unemployed when that next recession hits. It's not if, it's just when. Any other questions? Thoughts?
I have a question. So he just shared he had, some suicides. Has any Todd, any suicides that you've been aware of?
Absolutely. Like each one of our crafts have had suicides over the last few years, for sure.
How about this year? Has it been a better year?
I'm not certain. I'm not certain off the top of my head, but more than likely.
Well, part of it is to just get feedback on what do you think if it's potentially going to make a difference. What are you looking for? What are members telling you? It would be helpful for us in the conversations that you have, and see if anybody has any insights and what your thoughts are. Anybody who could be on this panel and could talk, because you all have the stories, every one of you.
Colleen, can you speak a bit to the 988 number in text and how that works? And I know in an earlier conversation, you mentioned that, it doesn't have to be necessarily the person that's in crisis. If one of your members, you have concerns about one of your members or one of the coworkers has concerns, they can call 988 and say, how can I maybe intervene here? I don't know what to say. What could I say? So can you speak a little bit to that, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And also I want to just kind of re-emphasize the point that this gentleman made around if you ask the question about suicide, you are not planting a seed. I just want to really emphasize that, because I think there is still that idea in the world that if you mention it, if you say the word, if you talk about it, you're going to give somebody the idea. I promise you that will not happen. There's absolutely no research, no data to suggest that that is in any way true. What is true is that overwhelmingly, when somebody is asked about suicide, if they are having those thoughts, they feel relief, because there are so few people in the world who are willing to have those conversations with them. Also, I want to just say that statistically speaking, at least half a dozen people in this room have had thoughts of suicide in the last week. So when we talk about this, we are talking about ourselves, we're talking about our loved ones, our neighbors, right? This isn't something that happens to those other people. This is something that people live this every day, right? So I just want to kind of throw that out there for a little bit of context, because I think it's really easy to separate ourselves from what we're talking about, and it's probably in this room, right? Statistically speaking. That's why resources like 988 are so powerful and so impactful. It's available 24/7. It used to be, so this resource has been available for 30 years. It was the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. There was a 10-digit number that people could call to reach the service. In 2022, there was legislation that was passed with the FCC to create this 3-digit number to really normalize reaching out for mental health support the same way that we call 911 to reach emergency services. Now you can have emergency mental health support when just dialing 988. You can also text 988 from any phone, any cell phone, totally for free. And people can also chat. You can get online. If you just Google 988, it'll come up with a way to chat over the computer as well. So there are a lot of ways to reach this support. People receive extensive training in how to engage when somebody is struggling. And what we know is a lot of times when people are struggling, they're not going to come right out and say it. You could ask them about suicide directly 2 or 3 or 4 times before they actually tell you, actually, yes, I am thinking about that, because they're testing the waters and seeing if you are a safe person to talk to. So if you notice that yourself or the people around you are, suddenly their mood has shifted, they're sleeping more or less, there's a sudden shift in behavior. For men especially, a lot of anger, impulsivity, irritability, stomach upset, there's a lot of physical stuff that happens, physical pain, right? So we often think that this, depression is a precursor to suicide. And that is not actually true. I mean, it can be, right? But what is also true and more true is that really challenging life events accumulate over years and years and years. And what we know is that a thwarted sense of belonging, right? So if you just feel a little out of place, if you feel like people don't understand you, that you don't have someone to talk to, that's a real red flag. So if you have someone on your crew or in your life who's isolated and doesn't feel like they belong, that is a significant red flag. So pay attention to that. Also, feeling a sense of burdenness, right? So if people feel like they're a burden, we talk about how, people will go to a construction site. We see this a lot with military population as well when they're deployed. If somebody's away from their home environment for a long time and then they come back and try to reintegrate into this life that doesn't really need them anymore, it's very, very challenging, and they feel like they are a burden to the people who they love most, right? So there's a lot that goes on in the background. So if you or someone you know is in that situation, you can call 988, text, chat, and somebody's on the other end of the phone to either walk you through those really dark moments, or they can talk with you about what to do, what you're noticing in your loved one, in your employee, and your coworker. You can tell them what you see going on, and they will guide you through that process of what you could possibly say. They may try to get the person on the phone, depending on how serious it sounds in that moment. So a lot of people can have thoughts of suicide. It's actually really normal to think about, like, oof, if I didn't wake up tomorrow, that would actually be fine with me, right? I think a lot of people in this room have probably thought that at some point. It's not that uncommon. What is less common is actually taking those steps to do something to end your life, right? So there is that kind of breaking point that sometimes people get to.
And along those lines, I think it's great. And I think potentially something for the union construction this year, as I mentioned already, what I've learned working with the firefighters is that my son, I'm really honored, he's a firefighter, Dallas Fire, paramedic firefighter. The firefighters are now tackling it and thinking about it that, okay, they go and first responders, they've seen a lot of different things, right? It's a glass. When they start, it just a little bit, where they have an event that has impacted them. Over time, it grows and grows, just like you mentioned, and at some point in time, it's gonna overspill, and they have issues. They're opening up now to big places for recovery, East Coast and West Coast. And so to your point, to start having these conversations and get it, because it happens over time, where it could be just like this. Someone needs some help. They just don't know what's gonna be that particular event that's gonna happen, where it overflows. And so where if we could start talking to the lady and gentleman getting into it earlier, I think hopefully we can keep it where it never overflows and then they commit suicide.
Any other questions from the audience or thoughts that anybody would like to share?
So, go ahead. Go ahead. All right.
Go ahead.
I'm real quick, more in support for what you guys are doing. So I do represent 2 mental health facilities, Southwest Washington, and John and Randall know about it. They helped us when one of the facilities got into some financial issues, and the union was really one of the reasons helping get them out of that problem. So they're up and running and doing well again. What I wanted to say is that they have a new CEO now, and they're really open to working with the unions. And we have, like I said, 2 of these facilities. And what's pretty cool about it is, I think it's either one of Justin's or Zach's members from the laborers is now put on that board of directors. And so this is a group that is all organized. Their counselors are union folks, and they want to do whatever they can. Because I told them about what the event that was held at IBW at Oregon Building Trade put on. They want to get involved in that. So anyway, I can help you guys and connect you with them. We'll do that.
Thank you. Kirk?
Yeah, Kirk Malcolm, General Pictures, Local 101. I just wanted to share, thank you guys for, this really good information. But I had a situation with a member not too long ago, and I'm not a trained, crisis counselor. I reached out to 988 and merged that call because I knew that person wasn't going to make that call on their own. And it hits me hard because he comes to me probably once a week and says, "Man, you helped save my life." And a simple phone call. So.
Real quick question. Is there any particular stats on what craft particularly has maybe a higher rate than others? And the second question I would have is what successes have you seen with bringing down numbers within a particular craft or program? Is there something that you guys have other than the phone line that kind of helps bring that number down over time?
Great question. I don't have the craft breakdown by each craft, so I can look into that. They sometimes do it, but like as general industries, there's like 32. In terms of bringing it down, like those stats haven't come out either so we don't have that data, but it really is some of the practices that I feel like just go building belongingness. Like, how do you deal with all the struggles in the world? How do you like handle that? And you might not be able to, but you can build belongingness. You can build connection to people. So having those practices would be one way of like, oh, how many times do we have this monthly meeting? How often do we do a recognition? You know, those types of events you can measure, and then hopefully that has a positive impact. But I don't have that data. There is like a National Construction Working Mind Conference that is going to be here in Portland in February, and they may be able to address that more. But it's those practices that we try to do, those simple rituals, and it really is like you can't. It's a quote that I use in one of my presentations, but you can't heal what you don't reveal. And we hear stigma all the time, and we know that so many Americans, so many people think about suicide. It's just part of like the human experience. We have to destigmatize that and have that conversation, because that can be like healing in itself. But having the practices that if you want to be a measurement person, that would be it. You know, or how many days did we not work? Did we keep them at 40? Do we make people work 50 hours? Those are things that you could do, and that would be interesting to know. But I just, can't answer that question directly, but we'll look into it.
And one of those questions is the challenge, right? We talk about stigma. Okay, who has the highest number? Who's having the challenges? Then we start getting defensive, okay, and potentially not sharing information or wanting to have that particular conversation. And so I really think potentially part of it, hey, who's trying to do the most to help? You know, what kind of capacities are you doing? You know, the 988 number, there was one particular craft that had really jumped on it. Now, some other crafts are trying to get on it as well, right? And so something along those lines, it's a potential challenge. But one of the things you can look at is there's more of some data on a geographic area. And so luckily, Oregon isn't one of the worst states. And so you're all doing some good stuff by really lowering the stigma. And so continue that support and then maybe talk about that in some capacity. Hey, well, we are lowering the numbers and we're going to continue to lower numbers. We're going to go and we're going to fight this for a lot of people.
Could CSPP do a presentation at a union meeting or an apprenticeship?
Absolutely. We would love that, and to get that feedback from people and asking these like tough questions. Yes, to answer directly. We definitely can, and to share that resource and be, again, mindful of the time, because, you know, I know a lot happens at these meetings. We want to be effective, and then, you know, we can be on the side as a resource. But yeah, we're a resource for you, and if you want to share it with your members and you want us to present that, we can definitely do that.
And I'm pretty sure every local union in this room, either with their union or with their international union or through their health trust, has some sort of EAP or membership assistance program or something, right? So there's already resources in place that all of you have. Lines for Life and the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership have resources as well. And we're not looking, Lines for Life or CSPP isn't looking to walk in the door and say, here we are and here's our stuff and it's the greatest. They're looking to merge everything that we've got together, right, to make it better for the leadership and for the membership so that everybody's better served. And if you folks have a resource that we're not aware of or vice versa, we want to share those, right, so that we can help all of you and all of your members to the best of our collective ability.
And I'll just say too, with 988, I think we're talking about like the extreme situation of somebody having active thoughts of suicide, right? But I really hope that if you walk away with nothing else, you walk away knowing that 988 is a resource for as far upstream, we call it, as you can get. So we want to talk to people before they're standing on the bridge, right? If somebody is struggling in any way or just had a rough day at work or needs some help, we've got the construction care line that Max has all the info on. or 988. You don't have to be in suicidal crisis to use 988. It's a resource for any kind of emotional support. They can provide resources out in the community so that they can get more ongoing care. It's a kind of foot in a door, so it's for anyone, anywhere, anytime. It does not have to be specific to suicide or some really acute crisis.
Go ahead.
Does 988 offer like services in Spanish?
Yes, so if you call 988, you'll get the option, press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line, so I know there's a lot of overlap with veterans in construction. Press 2 is for the crisis line in Spanish.
Not just Spanish, but different languages out there, I'm guessing, you know.
So yeah, so press 2 specifically for Spanish,
Right.
and you'll talk with a bilingual speaker. All other languages can be accessed through interpretation services, so they would just stay on the line for standard 988, and then they would get an interpreter on the phone.
Any closing thoughts? This has been, I've learned a ton, so.
I was at the event when Garth talked, and one of the things out the recovery night, and I saw the guy, who anyone ever seen, he's an amazing speaker. But what was really cool about that event for me as an outsider person is that recovery mindset isn't just for substance use. It's also for thought patterns. And just to see all the different speakers that were there speak to it, that, hey, recovery involves, you know, looking at my mental health, my thought patterns in a different way, was just really cool because they were sharing those stories and kind of breaking down those verticals that you mentioned and building that connection between, you know, like, hey, recovery isn't just like getting rid of alcohol misuse. It's also dealing with anger that I may have. It's rebuilding relationships. And to have so many people from different trades and crafts share that story there was just really cool as an outsider to be part of. And I think those are the types of rituals, events where people can share those stories that really resonate with a lot of people, and you don't know who's it echoes with, but it was just a fantastic event. I emphasize that.
Thank you.
Colleen? Any closing remarks?
Oh, thank you for having us here. Like I said earlier, it's not often that we get, well, Max gets invited into these spaces a lot, but it's not often that I get to be in these spaces. So I just appreciate the work that the industry is doing, that you all are putting into this. I love hearing these stories of weekly check-in kind of meetings and all these things that are happening. You are by far on kind of the cutting edge in terms of innovation and really wrapping your hands around the people in your industry that need support. So I just, huge kudos to all of you for taking that torch and running with it. And we're just here to support in whatever way we can. So thank you for all that you're doing.